Hello, this is Tom, aka Gedeon, here for Tabletop Tap Room in the Star Frontiers Gamer. It's another free Friday. I just got back from driving van for the school department, and so I'm not going to have a lot of time to do post-production. I'm going to just wing it today and do the video as a live stream, and we'll just see how this goes. Today we're actually looking at using it's a free Friday, so we're spotlighting something free, and of course something near and dear to my heart is Star Frontiers, and we have the Star Frontiersman Volume 2, Issue 29. This is a huge issue of the Star Frontiersman. We had some content bloat, and it just got out of hand. And some of the other writers were like, hey, I got to, and I just, and I had specifically recruited specific people. I said, hey, could you write this? And they did. So next thing I know, we got 95 pages, and I'm looking like, I don't really feel like cutting. I asked that guy specifically to write something, and he did. I hate to cut his material. And then some of the staff writers had produced things that really intersected well with the theme of this particular issue. Hated to cut those because they just go so well with the theme. It was kind of like you want to so the good wife is in her office, but she's watching me. It's a beast in all the good ways. It's a beast, and it's great. Thank you, Tammy. So we had so much content that just intersected, and then there was some kind of horror themed content, kind of like a vampire creature set on New Pale. And I thought, I'm not going to cut this and have it sit waiting a whole year to be published. So I made a command decision, and we just said, you know what? It's 1 year that we've been back in publication, and we're just going to call it a mega issue to celebrate that 1 year. So 95 pages of sci-fi goodness for Star Frontiers fans out there. Star Frontiersman Volume 29. Now, I'm not really here to review the whole, because it's 95 freaking pages. We're not here to really review the whole fan magazine, but I want to talk about this fan magazine as a module, as an adventure module, because it actually functions as that. These themes that we've been bringing about are really focused on like a topic. The first one was mines in the frontier, and we had some adventures, enemy mines, and there was a re-looking at mines and the seeker torpedoes. And so it was and then there was like a minesweeper covered, and the deck plan was a mine layer. Never had a mine layer deck plan in the frontier, so that was really, really mad cool as far as I was concerned. And then I found some really great material that had been posted on starfrontiers.us by Joseph Cabadas, and so it was. He really did some great development on some corporate planets. You had Devco and the planet Cass that have been developed by the CDC, by Cassadine Development Corporation, and then a new Streel and the planet Corpco that had been developed by Streel. And I thought this material was really good. So Devco and Cass were in the previous issue. This issue has the new Streel theme, and you can see here on this cover, this is the scout ship that was scouting the new Streel system, and they encounter what is called a giant Taropa. So this cover illustrates that scene. So let's just do a review here of so I mean, just from an adventure standpoint, Jacketsville here, page 10, is an adventure written by pulled a mental brain fart, Jason Messier. And so this is set on a planet he developed called Jacketsville. And so this is a great little adventure illustrated by his daughter, Abigail. She did a great job with that. I really liked the style of her illustrations. They were very fresh, and they struck me as very fresh and clean and neat. So I really like those a lot. So that's a great little adventure that you can use. But when we get into the theme here, we always we try to do a one-page cover for the theme section. So you have exploring Neustriel and Corpco. And again, this is another illustration. This is actually done by Aaron O'Brien, illustrating the Assault Scout being attacked by a giant Taropa. But here you have Joseph's system brief that he had uploaded years ago on the starfrontiers.us forums. And those forums are a little bit clunky now. They can be hard for people to properly register. I mean, if you mess up that proving you're not a robot, you're going to have a problem. So, the material that's on there is just going to fade away and become less and less available to the fan community. And so this material was such good material. It had never been published. And I just thought, we're going to build a theme around this. So you have this great system brief that Joseph put together, very, very thorough, including the giant Taropa, covering the whole system, covering Corpco. He did some maps. And then we had these human primitives there. And I didn't want yet one more primitive 8-man species in the frontier. I really wanted to explain it. And I think it was Oscar Rios came up with this idea of that they were a colony expedition from the human homeworld that reached the frontier, landed there, but they kind of ran afoul of these energy using creatures, the Brights and the Malovents that live on Corpco, that are descendants of a older civilization with weird, unexplained technology. And then you had I think the Scarlet Ghost were these imprisoned energy creatures as well. So it was very much a little bit of a Ghost of Mars kind of theme going on there with his material. But we wanted something to explain them. So we thought, well, if they, this colony expedition landed on Corpco and accidentally unleashed Malovents or a Scarlet Ghost, it would be very explainable that they could have lost their technology. And so while they have a sophisticated culture, they do have primitive technology. They've lost their higher technology. And so we really went with that. And then Oscar wrote up some profiles of primitive courage. I called it Profiles of Primitive Courage. I don't think he liked my title, but I just like that sound because of the Profiles of Courage written by Kennedy. And then later on, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a great book called Profiles in Black Courage. It's a great history book worth reading. I really like Kareem's book. I've not read Kennedy's, so to my shame, I guess. But so Oscar came up with this idea, and I'm like, yeah, primitives, Profiles of Primitive Courage. Yeah, it'd be a great title. But so the Leteri were well developed. Aaron O'Brien wrote. So yeah, here we go. There is artwork by C.J. Williams, and this is of a Bright. They have an organic body, but they're very much an energy-using creature. They kind of hide. They're, like Bigfoot a little bit. They kind of pull back and hide from humanity quite a bit. And they have criminals in their society called Malovents. And then there were some Scarlet Ghosts, which are ill-explained. And I kind of liked it that way. You had the Scarlet Ghosts, and they're imprisoned. It's very much a Ghost of Mars type of thing going on with those. And so this was great. Here's the 5 notable Leteri um, that Oscar Rios wrote, and it's great. So it's each one is a different profile. Like one was ended up becoming a movie star, a hollow vid star. One, was uh, managed to take advantage of an educational opportunity and left Corpco, was educated as a doctor, but came back to help his people. And so you get that profile. One's a soldier, became a mercenary, and has come back, and one became an entertainer, like a circus entertainer, so on and so forth. This was just a great little article with these 5 NPCs who are trying to help their people, and I felt it really fleshed out the Leteri who live as a primitive society, hoping to advance the plight of their people on Corpco. And of course, it kind of sets up Streel as the heavy, which we like. We've had Streel as the heavy repeatedly in the Frontier. They're the heavy in the Warriors of White Light module. They've been they've been banned from doing business on Clarion. They were supplying the pirates of the Planeron asteroid, the Planeron pirates. And, so they were the heavy there. They were one of the heavies in the corporate war on Lako. And so we've enjoyed seeing Streel as a heavy, not all the time though. I mean, because they make a nice balance against Pangalactic, and I really see Pangalactic as kind of the blue sun of the Frontier. They're very much the company, and they really should. To me, Pangalactic really should be the true heavy in the Frontier. But certainly here you have Corpco probably abusing its power a little bit, pushing the Leteri around, and not respecting, these people because they have no power. They're primitives. So I very much like some of these themes that were set up with this. Then Aaron wrote Ghost of Corpco. It's a great adventure, and he illustrated it too. He provided the maps. He did these great illustrations that are throughout here. I love this crashed air car. That is an actual scene in the module. We get some illustration here of these brights showing up when things are going on with the player character party. And then he created a bunch of critters in the environment, which I definitely appreciated. And so that's a great little adventure. That's set like during the modern day Frontier. So, and Doodle Squatch, hey, thanks for coming by. So yeah, I'm doing a live stream today because I knew I was not going to have time to record it and then do post-production and clean everything up and try to edit out a bunch of my stuttering over words and mistakes, or when I had a brain fart and I had to pause to think of something. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, but I still wanted to get the video out. So Aaron's adventure is really cool. I was really intrigued by his ideas in this adventure, and this is a great setup. And I actually feel like I can steal from Aaron's adventure for the one that I wrote that's in here that we'll get to in a minute. It's just very thorough, lots of NPCs. He did all these NPC portraits, which are kind of cool. And I kind of think, because Aaron's done this before, he's done illustrations, and there'll be like one character in that illustration that I'm like, man, that kind of looks like his portrait on Facebook a little bit. And I think this one right here looks a little bit like Aaron. I don't know for sure if he intended that, but just the beard and mustache reminded me of a past avatar picture that he used on Facebook. So, Journey into a Far Country. Now, this was mine, and I remembered that we went and found in the Wayback Machine some content that had been posted on a old website circa 2000, 1999, 2000, that time period. And it was called it was the Red Thunder starship. It was like mercenary corporate privateer called the Red Thunder, and it had an extensive background. And part of the background said that the prodigal son, S-U-N, not S-O-N, like the biblical parable, was the Red Thunder class that scouted the new Streel system. And I remembered that when we were putting this theme together, and I thought, I'm going to write the scouting mission. I'm going to write the scouting mission for scouting the system, because one, I've been wanting to support play. We have right in the Nighthawks book, we've got commerce campaigns where you take a freighter and you fly to one system and get a cargo, fly to another system, and you're trying to pay off the mortgage. Or you got a mining ship and you're mining the asteroid belts and trying to sell the cargoes. Or maybe you not just have the mining ship, but you got the orbital processing lab bolted onto your ship, and so you're refining the ore and then trying to sell it at a better price to the freighters that are taking it wherever in the frontier to be turned into finished goods. So we've got these supports for or the ag ship. So there's enough kernel of material in Nighthawks. You could totally run commerce campaigns in Star Frontiers, and that's great. There's some support from the Dragon magazine articles on Star Law, so you could run a Star Law campaign. I ran a CSI Port Lauren campaign, so you could run that kind of campaign. Very easy to run a mercenary campaign. But I've been thinking, what about scouting missions? Like, scouting missions don't really seem to have much support in any of the fan magazines or in any of the modules or the Dragon magazine articles that were out there. And I just thought, I really want to see scouting missions supported a little bit. And I thought the magazine would be the way to do it. So when this theme came about and I remembered Red Thunder, I thought we totally got to do this. So I wrote this, and this the title here is Journey to a Far Country. That's lifted right out of the parable of the prodigal son. I figured I'd riff off of the ship's name being Prodigal Son, S-U-N, and of course, obviously, the parable Prodigal Son, S-O-N. And I just thought, just maybe somebody might want to do like that scene in Hunt for Red October when what's his name is reading from the Old Testament, from the New Testament, from the book of the Revelation, the horsemen of the apocalypse. And I just, that's such a cool scene. Of course, he starts reading it in Russian and then kind of just very smoothly transitions into English. And from that point on, they just have the actors speaking English in the movie. And I always thought that was a very cool scene. So I thought we'll do a little rifting off of the prodigal son parable a little bit. And so that's where the title Journey into a Far Country, because it's cool. So it's you've got your mission, you've got to take the ship, and it's a brand new ship taken from the shipyards in the Prengular system, and do a little shakedown cruise, and then travel to Timian. And from Timian, you got to plot the course. You're tasked to find out what's in this system here. And because of the ban on Streel doing business in the white light system, the whole purpose of this scouting mission is to scout to this system, go ahead and scout the system, see if there's resources there for the for Streel to exploit. But they're really looking for jump routes to Theseus. Now, when you get the Zebulon's guide map, these jump routes exist, but the player characters are going to be the ones who get to plot them, and they get the reward for having scouted them. They get to Now, that reward is actually not paid to them by the UPF. It's actually paid to them by Streel, because Streel actually has a non-disclosure agreement that they have them sign. They want to keep things quiet because they just had an unsuccessful corporate war in Laco. And, so they've kind of, I set up the political situation between the corporate wars resolved. They appear to be the losers, even though their situation is actually better. Appearance wise, it looks like PGC won, but actually, strategically, they really did make out. But the perception is they've not made out so well. So they want to be quiet about any discoveries in this system, and they make the player characters sign this NDA. And we actually wrote a non-disclosure agreement document and put it in here for the players to sign as the player character. It's not a real legal document, just a game aid. But we thought it would be a fun one since you're dealing with corporate, corporations, and corporations, megacorps are not known to be very friendly to the little guy. And that's kind of what that NDA is all about, because as you get into this system, you might discover things like the Leteri, and you might want to go talk about, hey, there's, these primitive people there. They're the descendants of this lost colony expedition. But you have an NDA. You can't talk about them. So Doodle Squatch says, a survey fleet or flotilla would be a good way to restrict the number of NPCs to deal with and immediately isolate players from the rest of the galaxy. Yeah, you could do it that way. I just went with, I like to try to, if I like material you've produced, I try to honor that as fan canon. And so I was aware of this whole Red Thunder ship, and it was published previously in the Frontier Explorer. To make it available to fans, we resurrected the material out of the dusty Wayback Machine and published it in the Frontier Explorer so it wouldn't be lost. And I was aware of it because I was the one who dug it out of the Wayback Machine. And, I was aware of that little tidbit. And I just, if I can at all, without it being too much of a problem, I try to honor fan canon created by other people. So, when Joseph Kabadass did the primitive humans on this planet, I'm like, all right, where'd they come from? My first reaction was, I don't like this, but let's figure out a way to honor his creativity and not just rewrite it. And so in the end, I think we ended up with better material. And so that's why I went with just the one ship. And it's just that ship is decked out. I've specified what's there for equipment, like just base equipment, how much water is on board, how much food, how much this, that, and the other thing. And so this is very much, the players have so much resources. Can they complete this mission? And then what are they going to do about the things that they've learned in this system? Are they going to go and talk about this space-dwelling creature, the giant Taropa? This is quite a find. But your NDA statement that you've signed says you can't talk about it. Are you going to talk about this lost group of humans that have been abandoned here that desperately want to reconnect with the rest of humanity and galactic society? Streel's not going to be very happy with you. So it sets up, it tried to set up a little bit of a moral dilemma with that. And so you've got scouting in the outer system where you could encounter the giant Taropa. You land on the planet. I mean, just scanning it from orbit, you're going to realize something's going on. There's ruins here. There's things that show that they're not natural. So they're going to want to land and scout those things. You then have a first contact with the Leteri, trying to negotiate with them. The Polyvox should be able to facilitate communication fairly fast, because I kind of view Pangal as a language that took ideas from all of the core 4 languages. Not so much Versk, because only Versk can speak Versk, although other species can learn it and understand it. They can't speak it because it's just one of those things. But so there's elements of the like whatever human language came to the frontier in Pangal. There's elements of Drolocite's native language in Pangal, and so yeah. Thank you, Doodle Squatch. I brag, and it's quite rude. I brag that I'm an idea whore. I steal ideas from everywhere. I watch the news and go, how would that play out in Star Frontiers? And next thing you know, I've written something based off what I just watched on the news or just read in a magazine. But so you have a first contact situation with the Lateri. They want things that maybe the player characters can't give them. They might want real steel tools and weapons. They want to trade for that kind of thing. The players might want artifacts that are connected to the Brights and the Malavents and their ancient civilization, just because, hey, we can take this stuff back and sell it for some scratch. And, but the Lateri have been entrusted with some artifacts. If you read Aaron's adventure there, the Ghost of Corpco. So these are important cultural items to them that have protected them from the Malavents or have protected them from the Scarlet Ghost. So they don't want to part with that, but they do want to get their hands on a steel axe. If you got any more of them steel knives, so there's, how do you behave? And the Lateri do not want you to go and disturb some of these sites, these ruins, that are connected to the Brights and the Malavents, because they're afraid. They still have oral tales of what happened to their colony expedition and how a lot of people were killed. When some of these things got loose and affected their civil, their early colony. So you've got opportunity there for some role play, and maybe the players do something that kind of piss off the Lateri. Now you got Lateri warriors coming after you with spears and bows and arrows on their mounts, creating a problem. Are you going to just shoot them whole, kill them all, let God sort them out? Or, how are the players going to behave? So there's a lot of opportunity here for moral quandaries. Now, I got a friend that I used to war game with, and he was famous for, I always play evil characters. And I always made allowance for that in games that I ran. Like, I'd be like, so like this corporate spy has recruited you to do this. And it's usually something kind of underhanded and dirty. If I'm running Star, I would just give him something dirty and underhanded to do for extra money on the side that somebody was going to pay him to do. So I always try to account for that with him in my game. But I tried to set this one up with moral quandaries, and so it's there's not a lot of scripted things to happen in here. This here is a Photoshop I did of a boardroom. There's actually like a conference room on the Red Thunder ship, but I Photoshopped in here a piece of the map of the frontier on that computer screen there. But this picture in the background is a Rembrandt painting called, what was it called? The Prodigal in the Tavern or the Brothel. It's known by either title. And so this guy's partying it up. There's kind of a woman sitting on his lap. And this is a famous painting by Rembrandt. And I just thought the devil may care attitude on his face totally epitomizes the devil may care attitude that you would expect of corporate mercenaries who just came out of the corporate war, Lako's war on Lako. And I thought, so that would be like a great painting to put in the conference room on the ship. So I did this little Photoshop and put Rembrandt in there. So you're getting a little bit of culture with my adventure, whether you like it or not. And I'm just trying to scroll down to get to, it's at the very end here. This is a recycled illustration from a previous adventure written by Richard Rose. And then here is the Streel non-disclosure agreement. And I researched this on the internet, and then I kind of cleaned it up and tried to make it sci-fi-ish, future megacorp sounding. Then I had a buddy who had much more experience with legal documents look at it, and he kind of re-edited it. And, to me, this is the fun thing, that when the players are starting out, you hand them the non-disclosure agreement. You must sign this. Because I just feel like hopefully this will set up that moral dilemma for them later on. So, you might have players that go apocalypse now with the natives like Kurtz. Yeah, hey, that's another great literary reference, because that's actually Joseph Conrad's story, Heart of Darkness, that maybe not all of us had to read in high school, but it's another great literary reference. Thanks for mentioning that. And I love Apocalypse Now, the whole Charlie don't surf. And I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I just love that movie. That's a total possibility. And if they do, that's okay with me, because then later on in the campaign, you might have some Star Law agent coming around asking questions about things that happened on Corpco. They do it, they get away with it, whatever. But down the road, rumors leak out. Some Leteri manages to get off planet and go get educated at, Port Lauren, and, stops by the local Star Law office to file a little, hey, let me tell you about what happened. These guys did this thing. So now there's a ticket with Star Law, and they're investigating. And to me, that's a cool consequence that could come out of this adventure. Even though I wrote the adventure hoping to set up moral quandaries where they would be tempted to violate the NDA, players going total Colonel Kurtz and Apocalypse Now are not going to be tempted to violate the NDA. They're just going to take the money and run. But here's another consequence that could go the other direction. And now Star Law's investigating them, instead of there's a corporate executive vice president who's pissed at them and wants to get even with them for violating the NDA. Maybe they're going to get sued. Maybe he's put out a bounty hunter contract on the players to bring them to Pale so they can be sued in a court in Pale for violation of this non-disclosure agreement. And, so I tried to set up a lot of different angles for consequences. Do you go along with the corporate deal of, we're here just to, take over the resources that we want and screw everybody else, including the Leteri? Or are they trying to do the right thing? Or are they, or are they going Colonel Kurtz? So I think a lot of things can go that way, go either way. In this adventure here, I have reposted some of the information on the ship, just enough to familiarize yourself with it. The full deck plans are in the Frontier Explorer. We're not going to reprint them. We just, the side view and the lander on the ship. And because it's a shakedown cruise, there are some problems that could go on with this, little quirks that, that kind of crop up and be a pain in the players' butts. Now after this, we have this Stellar Steel from Streel. This is a review of say that 5 times fast, of Streel starships, Stellar Steel from Streel, and written by Richard Rose. And so just a real thorough looking into this. Is quite a bit of material here on Streel starships. My God, I can't even talk. But then he came back and he wrote another article, Streel Motorworks, which was on just vehicles produced by Streel. And some of this was material he had written a long time ago and posted on the starfrontiers.us. And, you know, some of these are obviously real photos. We filtered them through a BFunky filter. I can filter these on in GIMP or in Photoshop. The same filters exist on bfunky.com. It's just bfunky.com is actually a little bit easier to use than trying to do this stuff in GIMP or Photoshop. So, you know, people probably hear me say like, "Oh yeah, you do it." I know I could do it in GIMP, and I know I can do it in Photoshop. I use GIMP most of the time because I'm so far past the learning curve with GIMP. It's just easier for me to do it in GIMP. I get frustrated in Photoshop because I'm not quite past the learning curve yet. And then I'm like, I leave Photoshop. Let's go do it in GIMP because I don't have to screw around. But even with that, I find the using the different filters, it's just easier to go to BFunky, and it's actually there's an easy way to defeat the watermark that they want to put on, because normally if you ran this picture through a filter, there'd be a little watermark here. Well, I just go into GIMP and I set up a new picture for wider pixels, wider and deeper pixels than this photo, drop this photo in it and leave white space in the corner for that watermark. And after I filter it, I just do a screenshot. And so that lets me defeat the filter. I don't have to use BFunky. I just use it for the convenience. So you get this whole article, and it's, again, more on Streel. And then Richard wasn't content with all of that. He came back and did a real history of Streel, and incorporated a lot of his fan canon into it, which I'm okay with that, because I don't have to use his fan canon if I don't like it. And just like I write a lot of fan canon, and you don't have to use my fan canon if you don't like it. But I do like riffing off of other people's works and stuff. And Richard's been such a prolific creator of material in the Frontier, and I've been pushing him to get more and more involved in the magazines, and he finally has, and I appreciate that, because he is such a prolific creator. Like Oscar Rios, who's worked on this issue as well, like myself, like Aaron. So the goal was just to try to surround myself with real prolific, creative people, and then hopefully we'd produce a great magazine. So Naughty Professor tried BFunky and didn't like it. I stick to Photoshop. Yeah, and totally valid. Totally valid. My old plumbing partner was Sicilian, and I was trying to ask him one day. We stopped for lunch, and he ordered a carafe of red wine for our table, which just meant like we were going to have a glass and a half of wine and then go back to work. And I was trying to ask him about that, red wine with red meat, white wine with white meat. And very typical of him, he went, "Drink what the hell you like." And I found that applies to so much in life. You don't like 5e? Play what the hell you like. You don't like Star Frontiers? Play Traveler. It's you don't like BFunky, you don't like Photoshop, you use GIMP. You play what the hell you like, eat what the hell you drink, what the hell you. To me, I found that is one of the best pieces of wisdom I've ever gotten in my entire life, was from Ed Speciale, who was a great master plumber. And I always think of him all the time, in that phrase. So yeah, absolutely. If you don't like BFunky, don't use it. But I just found BFunky was easier. I can click through all the filters real quick, see what they look like. And I just found it to be a little bit easier than GIMP. And maybe Photoshop is actually easier than GIMP. I don't know, because I just get frustrated with being behind the learning curve on it. I go back to GIMP. It's just a little too easy for me. So you get a little bit of history here from Richard, and then his Devil's Triangle, which I love this material. It's a review of criminals, and one of the criminals in there gets the Frontier's Most Wanted treatment. And so you've got all of this support in this one fan magazine, on Streel, all this information on Streel, the corporation, Streel Motorworks, their shipbuilding, what's going on with their shipbuilding. The magazine references the Red Thunder article from Frontier Explorer, give you a little piece of the side view and some of the decks, but the full deck plans are over there. So you've got all of this material, 2 adventures set in New Streel, and yet another adventure that you could probably steal from Jason Messier's adventure, Jacketsville, and borrow ideas from that, and just produce a whole campaign. It's just if the player characters misjump and never make it into the New Streel system, I did a little paragraph on that. Here's the possibilities. Here's what would happen with a misjump, because a misjump's a very real possibility when you're plotting that jump route for the first time. So, you could have a campaign that's almost equivalent to the Volturnus campaign. I mean, the Volturnus campaign is built on 3 modules. This is not quite 3 solid adventures, although I'm sure you could find something else to pull in. But even if you go with the consequences to the player's actions, maybe they choose to violate the NDA. Maybe they don't. Maybe they go Apocalypse Now, as Doodle Squatch suggested. These things can have and just follow them through the campaign. And, the prodigal son parable is about the prodigal son has gone off and estranged himself from his father. Well, if we equate the parable to this particular scenario, Streel would be the father. The players would be the prodigal son. They're off with the prodigal son, SUN ship. So if they've estranged themselves from the father, the story of the prodigal son is about redemption and being restored to the relationship with the father. So you could have that executive vice president that has it out for them, that has put out a bounty hunter contract on them. But maybe there's another executive who might, say, hey, I'll take care of this thing over here where the corporation has it out for you. Their bounty hunters actually out for you. But if you do this thing for me, I'll make it all good and we'll wipe out all the bad. So there's more possibilities for this to have a long-running campaign for a group of player characters. And that's what's cool about this issue. 95 pages, a ton of content. We normally target, our target is 40 to 60. We went way overboard with this, which is okay. And we had a good time working on it. And, I just love how creative the other staff writers are, but it's not just them. You've got Eli Ardent, you've got Jason Messier, you have other people supplying stuff. And there's so many great creative minds out there who supply things to the magazine. It just makes it a great experience to work on the fan magazine. So, let's go to this picture. This is Alan Taylor's cover art. And I love that John, Naughty Professor, inserted it here without the copy on it from the cover. So if you just want to enjoy that picture without it saying Star Frontiersman Volume 2, Issue 29, you can. And I love when John inserts these back into the module that way, a module into the magazine. So absolutely fun to work on. Now, one other thing I just want to point out, because we started the Patreon campaign to help support the magazine, let us do a few things that are a challenge for us to do with the magazine that do require a little bit of money here and there. And so one of them was the Patreon campaign. And so as I thought about what the rewards would be, a lot of people have said to me in the past, boy, it'd be great. Wouldn't it be great if you could do the magazine, every other month, 6 times a year or every month? And I'm thinking, I'll lose my staff. we go to that. But there is a desire for more content. And so I thought, you know what, a newsletter. I could do a newsletter and I could add a little bit of content every month to it. So that's what you see here is Subspace Signals is the newsletter for the Patreon campaign. It's patrons only newsletter. Although I think at the end of the year, we'll skin out all of the bonus content from the newsletter and compile it into a Subspace communique. And first give it to the patrons, and then after a suitable period of time, we'll make it available on a drive-through with maybe not quite as nice a cover as the patron version of it. So this here is so a little bit of yakety yak from me about the inaugural issue, but we are doing a promotion for any new sign up, any new sign up for the Patreon campaign during the month of November. Just extra giveaway, and these promotional giveaways have nothing to do with anything we've promised for the Patreon campaign. It's just a promotional thank you. And so we're doing the Streel logo. We had this rescanned and cleaned up, doing that as a sticker. I'm getting them printed in job lots. So anybody at the lowest tier will get a Streel Corporation sticker. You slap it on your laptop or whatever. But we're also, for the mid-tier, we're getting this Streel corporate ID card printed. This is inspired by the ID card in the Alpha Dawn basic game rules on page 8, which is kind of cool. So, and you can see the inspiration here. There's a few little tweaks to this that are going to get, that I'm working with the printer. But he's just come back at me. We were going to have this printed on plastic blanks, credit card quality plastic. You'll be able to sign it. You can see my name is signed there. That was just part of the mock-up the printer, the publisher did. And he's come back at me now, and he said, you know what? He says, I can do metal ID cards, same price as plastic. What do you want me to do? I says, I can't even give you numbers till the promotional campaign's done. So I'm actually running a poll in the Patreon campaign to see what people say. Do they want plastic, which is what I promised, or do they want the metal, which is much more durable, much more nicer? I think we're going to probably go that way, but I promised one thing, and I don't want to change it without the patron saying, yeah, change it. So, we've been doing that since 26, and I think it's cool to see the cover repeatedly in the issue. So yeah, in fact, in this issue, you did it in black and white right after the inside, and then it was in color here at the back. And you get such great cover art from our artists that support us. I want to see that without all the writing on it for the magazine cover. To me, I think that's it. The artwork's so beautiful, like Aaron's cover that he did last issue. There was so much going on there. You just wanted to stare at. Oh, wait a minute! I found something here, and so yeah, all of the issues we worked on so far. Yeah, we have not had a lame cover yet, and give it time. But we haven't had a lame cover yet, and we've had great artists that have just done great stuff for us. Hey, Rum Rogue signed in the Patreon the other day. well worth the Explorer level to support you all. Hey, I appreciate that. But you know what? Patreon just started a new thing. There's a free membership. You can just follow a Patreon campaign, but the free membership, it just gives you whatever posts that are designated for everyone. Now, I've used that to go and click on a bunch of other Patreons I was interested in. And, it's like a try it before you buy it type of thing. And, you go through there and they have all these hidden posts. You can see blurred out whatever the artwork is that was posted there. And you kind of have an idea what the post is about. But nobody seems to has clicked in yet that you've now got this other way to engage people who have not decided to do a paid membership yet. And this is brand new. I'm totally surprised by it, but it's got me thinking, wait a minute. I now have to rethink what I'm doing with the Patreon and make sure I'm engaging with the free memberships. And so there might be a need for me to do extra content that I give away to everyone, even the free memberships. I don't know what that's going to be. I gotta spend some more time and think. And there need, because the newsletter's promised to the paid memberships. So I can't just up and go, well, we're going to give it away to everybody now, even though you had to, some of you signed up just to get it. That would be that, that wouldn't be good for me to do that. So the newsletter is going to continue to be paid memberships only. So I got to think of some way to also engage with the free memberships as well, because that's brand new. And that'll be a way to build more community. And, some of those people will come along and go, you know what? No, this is, I should go ahead and support. And so, because I'm using the check it out with the free membership. Oh, I'm curious about that Patreon. Let me check that out and see what's going on there. So definitely the free memberships, even if you're not willing to commit to the money, and the money's kind of nominal. I mean, the $3 and a penny for the lowest one. And it's only that so that we can game the system, because Patreon charges more if you're $3 and less. So I said, all right, instead of $1, it's $3.01. We'll keep more of that money. No need for Patreon to keep the larger share on a dollar membership. It just didn't seem right to me. But so thank you, Rum Rogue. Definitely appreciate it. Long time no see. Because we used to associate back in the Star Frontiers.us forums. Which they're pretty. I mean, I still check in there, and some of the old hands check in there, but they're pretty slow and defunct these days. But so yeah, please check out the Patreon. Got sidetracked here. So I just wanted to just kind of promote, hey, this is the extra content. This is some of the extra content that's in the newsletter. Is Critter Corner is the infamous beaked tiger. This is a sketch I did, and I filtered it through Be Funky, as we discussed earlier. And but I've left in a blank name here, the Blank World Beaked Tiger. This is to support those Explorer campaigns. So if you need a ambush predator, a lethal ambush predator, here you go. So it's a pretty good write-up on him. And I went with the Tim Kask theory on dangerous creatures, that they should have some weakness, like the Boule. This one does have a weakness. It doesn't like sonic fields. So that I did the gear up with the scout cycle. This is a very compact cycle. You can pack it into a scout ship. And so it's got some extra capabilities here that make it great for a rugged scouting mission. but it's a little underpowered. So if you put a second rider on it, you knock off a little bit of performance. And then we're talking about the I Survived Volturnus t-shirt. Great piece of artwork done for us by an artist in Germany, Benedict Noir. Pulling a little bit of a brain fart on his name. So and so you'll notice that there, if you go to the Cafe Press store, there's a marginal markup on it. That money is to support the magazine. So if you get the t-shirt, you're supporting the magazine, but we're not getting rich on it. But you'll notice that there's most of the shirts are double-sided. Star Frontiersman on one side, nice logo in large on the back. We did do one single-sided with just the I Survive Volturnus on the front to be a little bit cheaper. And then I did a German version because, hey, if the artist is German, I felt like I should just do a German version. So, but then, I'm sure somebody's going to go, hey, yo, dude, what's up? Spanish version. Come on, SA. Yeah. So, and then we have at the very end of the newsletter, I'm calling it Signal Intercepts from Star Frontiersman issue 30. And it's just a little dangling of the bait, what's going to be in issue 30, what you can expect. And so this is a test sketch that was supplied by the cover artists on the sub coming into the sub base on the rogue planet Hades. So it was cool. The test sketch is cool all by itself. You should see the cover art. Cover art's gorgeous. But I thought I'd just dangle the test sketch out there. So that's the newsletter. That's what you're going to be getting. New content every month with the Subspace Signals newsletter. There'll be a little bit of content in there. I wanted to do a little bit more in this one. Was under the gun to just get the first one out. It looks like I'm going to have 5 Ifschnit religions coming out soon in one of the next, either the next or the one after that, Subspace Signal newsletter. That we had 5 religions written for the Ifschnits for the Capella system. And they're kind of cool. I kind of like what was done with these. Honestly, I was the writer, but I really had a great time with this, and I really feel like inspiration just hit me in the head. And so it's not just going to be critters. It's not just going to be gear, equipment, but everybody likes equipment. New gyrojet ammo could be in the works. And if anybody out there, you're like, hey, I'm not a great writer, but I did write up this one piece of equipment. Sure, send it in. I'd be happy to put it in the newsletter. And if you're not a patron, or you're only like a free membership patron, I'll make sure you get a copy of the newsletter, because that's only fair if your material's in there. So that's the kind of content that's going to be showing up. Not a lot of it, not a full fan magazine, but just a little bit, just to thank the patrons. So they're getting new content every month, because people have been asking, for more. And I would love to do more. I'd love to do, I'd love to be like Dragon Magazine every month, new Dragon Magazine. I'd love to do that, but I don't know that we really can with an all volunteer staff. I mean, maybe if we had 3,000 patrons supporting us at $5 and $10, I'll just start putting people on staff. just start paying a layout guy. All right, dude, this is all you're doing. We're paying you. At that level of support. I don't know that we'll get there, but hopefully we will be able to do some cool things. Like, eventually, I would like to be able to compile an ultimate equipment guide. Almost every piece of equipment that's ever been created in a Star Frontiersman, Frontier Explorer, all into one massive hardcover tome. That would be a great patron reward. That's going to take a lot of work. I would like to compile every critter ever created in any of the fan magazines um, and any IP creature also into a patron reward. Later on, we'll pull out the IP and we'll the IP creatures, from the original rules, the original modules, and we'll just have that monster manual, that reduced monster manual, available on drive-through for the greater community. But as a patron reward, the collector's edition would be the one with every single thing, because we're talking like 400 creatures going into one monster manual. Just think about that. It's a ton of work. So these are the kinds of things that we are thinking about: modules, adventures, reference works, the extras that we're looking to do for the patron community, and have these be actual print copies that you can get, just as an extra thank you to the patrons, because their money is going to make these things possible. And so that's where we're going with the patron campaign. And that's why I'm kind of pumping it here a little bit on this video, even though the video is about the Star Frontiersman issue 29. So this is Tom for Tabletop Tap Room, Star Frontiersman. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, bell icon. Don't forget to click the link in the show notes and go by the Patreon and just follow it. Even if you're not going to do a paid subscription, just follow it, because we are looking to engage the wider community. And I don't know what the plan is yet, but I'm thinking we got to engage those free memberships as well. I think that's going to be important, and that will make this a successful patron campaign. So again, thank you all for coming by the live stream and listen to me gas bag. And for some of you chiming in, I appreciate it. And we're going to roll credits.